What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. Dean 78904, as well as Blender HD, Jordan Cooper. Jordan, I was just listening to yourself and your wife not too long ago. It just sort of popped up on my Twitter feed. Well, you were talking to you were having a wrestling podcast. I guess you know this. This was no shock.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know this. I need to make sure since obviously we're doing a show together. I have to get in frame for you. So we're both equal. I don't know how I'm almost Indian style on the floor here.
I had to learn about them. Like, who is the woman that fell? Who's the woman that this fell for Blender? I had to know more about her. She seems delightful. You're of course your podcast with the average fan. No. What's the wrestling fan?
My wife, the casual fan.
Casual fan.
Only been watching wrestling for like 2 years.
There you go. All right. Shout out to the wrestling pod. Thank you for taking some time away from your wrestling podcast. Talk some baseball today. Happy 4th. Happy 4th, everybody out there hanging out with us. What's up, Mr. Richard and Brian and Mark and all those hanging out in chat? We will be here taking you all the way up to Lock. Lock is 105, and I should be specific because DK and Fanduel, they could not coordinate, unfortunately. Fanduel decided to chop the slate up in two, where they have like a very early and an early slate, and DK has got 8 games. I think we're going to mainly focus on that one. Crunch Time will break it down even more, and I don't know if we're going to have a show later on tonight. I'm happy to touch on the night slate, the 5-gamer, because I've been breaking that one down as well. I'm working on that for the expert survey, which will be released later on today, myself and several others. So my brain's kind of like jumping around as far as different slates. So I'm jumbled all over the place because I've done research for multiple slates, and hopefully we do not goof anything up. Blender, how's your morning? How are things
Good.
in your
Brian
world?
Brian C has the right strategy in chat. Give us those thumbs ups while you're there.
There you go.
Stack teams with red or blue color schemes. It's Independence Day. Just red, white, and blue. If the teams are red, white,
Texas
and blue,
Rangers.
Right there you go. I mean, it is probably the Rangers Red Sox game is the most popular game on the slate. But there you go. We're done, right? Just like my wife is the casual fan of wrestling. That's how she would build her lineups, right? It's like it's 4th of July. Just anything anything that is anyone with like bombs and fireworks.
Well, like fireworks or like
Kyle Freeland.
Okay.
Today we became a free land. Of course, he's one of the worst rejected pitchers on the slate, but you never
don't want to roster him. I was going to run through that. I was looking at that last night and then I just gave up. I'm like, are there any interesting like narrative street names? I'm sure there's some that we were missing, but like, the easy way to go is as far as the uniform color, I suppose. We do have some potential weather issues. We were talking about this on pre-show. You were talking about it with, you know what, man, I'm signed in on my wrong account. So I was going to drop it in chat, but I don't have the ability to drop stuff in chat because I'm not a mod under this Google account because this
you're under your Pornhub burner account.
No, that's not what I'm under. I'm under my my RotoGrinders account, which is a different account. It's so annoying. And like in order to write the content, I had to be signed in for that, so I can't jump back and forth. If producer Steve will be so kind to drop the and I'll go ahead, Steve. I'll drop this in our chat here. The weather for Roth. It'll be on later, of course, later today, about an hour.
But the point I was making beforehand is that even though like the New York and Boston games, there's scattered storms coming through. Whatever Roth has the report, yellow, orange. It is the 4th of July. These games, the games are 105 and 135. July 4th, like all these home teams do like fireworks shows afterwards. You know, it's a big day at the ballpark. You get people out. They sell the hot dogs and the sodas and everything. Like, dude, they're gonna fit I can't unless the field is soaked, unless there's hail coming down for the whole day. Like, I have to expect they're getting these games in no matter what.
Yeah, the diciest of situations in New York. It's currently yellow-orange, also yellow-orange in Boston. If you look at the lineups page looks a little bit more daunting for Boston. What I trust Roth more so in the lineups page. It has like the hour-by-hour stuff, and it's saying, it's got the red cloud emoji with a lightning strike, which is kind of intimidating. It's not exactly like the fire emoji in Weather Edge or your proposed eggplant
emoji.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to have that in the weather page, but it looks a little bit daunting there. According to Roth, yellow orange is not terribly scary. We'll see. And I don't think we're rostering, any pitchers in Boston either. Maybe you are, but I don't think I'm planning on rostering any pitchers there. And Yeah, 8-gamer on DK. Fanduel included in the second half of their 2 slates, Seattle versus the Giants, Gilbert versus Wynn. Again, just the way they chop stuff up. If you're asking questions, by all means, ask questions for Fanduel. Be specific because everything is slate specific. Fire off your questions in chat. We're happy to answer whatever you have, and I'm sure we'll have time to answer as many questions as possible. Strategy questions, 2v2 questions, Blender loves this guy or that guy questions. Those are certainly encouraged. We can direct those to Blender.
Why don't I like 2v2 questions? That guy or this guy question?
Well, because you just want people to check the projections.
That's right. If you signed up for RotoGrinders Premium by clicking on the link in the description, getting $10 off your first month, you'd be able to get all of our projections here at RotoGrinders, including the player projections, the ownership projections, Cheese's $1 million musings, the consensus value rankings, everything. So like just look at the projections and just whatever number. If you're going to ask, do I play this guy or this guy with no other context? It's like whichever number's higher. There you go.
Yeah, but like the difference is 0.1. Like, you know, so that obviously that means like
clearly, flip a coin, play whoever you want at that point. Okay,
51-49. It's baseball too. Like, you know, one hit and there you go.
Baseball.
Yeah,
red, white, and blue. Just the 50. If it's a coin flip, just go by the uniforms. If the uniforms red, white, and blue, take anything's closest to red, white, and blue. You take them.
Okay, so that's the tiebreaker today. We're not certain like who's wearing what uniforms. There's a lot of red and blue, by the way. Just kind of noticing.
Are there special July 4th uniforms?
Probably. They just anything to sell more T-shirts, right? They have these City Connect. Some of them are kind of rough. Like some of them are really sharp, and some of them are. It's like they didn't. It's like they realized they woke up in the middle of the night, like, oh man, this project's due in 3 hours. I better come up with something. Like the Pirates one is pretty bad. How much do you watch the baseball? Are you aware of the City Connect jerseys?
If there's a GIF or something, or their highlights on Twitter, that's when I watch baseball. I've seen Shohei Ohtani hit some home runs and some.
He's spectacular.
Second Twitter videos.
Oh my god, he had a.
Remember, I have the check mark, Dean. I don't get rate limited. I can see all this stuff.
Yeah, I know. We talked about this pre-show. I'm doing my best stubbornly. I'm holding on, but
you have to admit, Dean, that for DFS and betting, like Twitter is a necessity. Twitter is a business expense.
100%. It's
absolutely. Itemize your taxes for crying out loud. Who cares?
It's not the money; it's the principal, Blender.
Who cares? Who cares who's getting your $11? Who cares that who cares?
And people are like, "Oh, you don't have $10." It's not that. It's whatever. Yeah. You're of course it's not. And theoretically, I don't want to go on the tangent. I don't want to go on the thing. I already talked enough about it with other people, and I'm sure I'm going to join the. I'm going to get suckered in because it absolutely does make sense for a multitude of reasons, and it is worth the cost.
I have
not for a lot of people.
I have my Twitter list, all the lineups and injuries of all the sports and all the beat writers and everything like that. Like, dude, I can't live without. I have an entire 27-inch screen that pretty much is almost always just TweetDeck.
You have a 26-inch monitor, like a side monitor?
I have three 27-inch monitors.
What do the other two have on it? One's got TweetDeck. What's the other two?
Well, one has TweetDeck that I also overlay my Excel stuff over, right? Because some of the columns I don't need at a given time. My other one on this side has my to-do list and Slack and a Discord window. And then in the main one, I have my web browser, which always has like a whole bunch of tabs. And then I have 2 other Discord window. I have like Discord, like multiple Discords, like in front of me, like all the time. Right. And then I have a program called Window Tidy, and it allows me to like resize windows to wherever I want and whenever I want them. So like if I'm building lineups and I need Excel stuff, right? I just make the, it fills it here, it puts it there, it sizes it there, it does everything for me.
We're gonna get to the slate in a second, but since this came up organically, I have to ask. So I'm not good with keeping up with Discord. If you DM me on Twitter, there's a good chance, at least when Twitter worked for me, there was a good chance I would respond, right? I'll go back and forth, that kind of thing. But I'm really backloaded on Discord, and a lot of people have DM'd me on Discord. And if I go through them, I'm afraid to go through them because it's like messages from like 2 years ago, and it's probably stuff that's already expired. So there's a bunch of people who think I'm like a big jerk and like a big
because you are. They don't think they're right. Why are you there if you're not going to respond, especially if you're mentioned?
Well, because I wasn't really Discord savvy. Now I have a whole bunch of messages that are packed up. So what do I do? Am I just saying it out the ether? Like, my bad, my apology. It wasn't personal, it wasn't intentional. let's start over today. So like from this day forward,
one thing I would suggest.
or should I go through all these and respond? Like,
Well, don't go
I know you asked me
years
this 2
ago
years
asking
ago.
a 1v1 question from a Slate from Fanduel. Don't do that.
What's the point?
One thing I would suggest, Dean, this is a way to keep yourself sane and then still not be a jerk, is decide on if direct messaging for you is a Twitter thing or a Discord thing. Because like for me, you could DM me on Twitter, right? Which is fine. My Twitter DMs are open, but my Discord DMs are friends only. So I could only the people that I'm friends, because then you get random people that just like 2v2 questions and garbage. I have a Blender. I have a Discord channel in the RotoGrinders Discord. It's called Blender's Game Theory. It's for premium members, and you know how to become a premium member. So look at that link in the description. Get $10.
You're not a man of the people, but go ahead.
But that's the place. It's like if you want to talk to me, I'm in that channel. So anytime a new message is posted in that channel, I get a notification. So it's like you don't even have to mention me. You don't have to do anything. Now, if you want anything unrelated to DFS, I got Twitter DMs. Right? Figure out some system, Dean. Some system on how you have the workflow, whatever. And then you could also on Discord, depend on this, every server that you're a part of, every channel you're a part of, you could set notification preferences and like where it's only mentioned. You can mute channels. You don't play NHL DFS. So like there's no point in having that even in your, just mute it. And then it's hide all the muted channels and you're done. Right? That's how you use Discord. And then you construct the way that you want your experience to be.
So the slate today, Blender, top pitchers, pretty popular pitcher is going to be Aaron Nola, getting 41% ownership currently. Not a great matchup in Tampa. Nola's been like fine, but not by his standard, kind of a down year for Aaron Nola, but still getting a fair bit of ownership, and he's still at 10-4, no real discount. The other side of that game, second most popular pitcher is going to be Zach Eflin. Eflin's been pretty solid this season.
Are you sure about that? That's not true.
What do you mean?
The most popular pitchers. Like Eflin's not going to be that popular. I don't have him as that popular. Luzardo, yes. Like Luzardo, Nola, Maeda.
I'm assuming you're looking at. I'm guessing you're looking at the Bats ownership projections. Is that what's going on over there?
Yeah. Why is it dramatically different?
I don't know. Well, I'm currently looking at the Plate IQ projections, and we have Nola for 41. What does the Bat have it at?
No. Okay, I see a Plate IQ has Nola 41, Luzardo 34, Eflin 37.
Yeah,
the Bat has Nola 22, Luzardo 54, Eflin 16, and Maeda 36.
That's interesting.
Well, but the projection difference isn't. I mean, like Eflin in the Bat is 15 median. And what is he? And I mean, I have to assume that the Plate IQ has him for more. Yeah,
so they're basically all projected the same.
There's a 3-point gap. So I can understand why the RG projection may have Eflin a little bit higher.
There's no gap for RG. They basically have Nola, Eflin, and Luzardo essentially for the same 18-ish points.
Yeah, so, and in the Bat it's Nola 19, Luzardo 18, and Eflin 15. But I mean, those are the highest raw point projection pitchers. So I'm like that. Other than the ownership, I mean, it's not like Eflin's bad. It's just that the Bat projects Eflin, a tad bit worse than the other two from a median standpoint.
Biggest K rate in the slate is Senga. We'll talk about him soon enough. His issue, of course, great strikeouts, but the walks are a problem. 13% walks is way too many. Luzardo, the second highest Ks, and the walks have been subdued this year, down to 6.1%. Love Luzardo. The tricky thing with him is like historically, this Cardinals team, I say historically, last year they were the best hitting team against lefties. This year, they've just been pretty disappointing, despite the fact that like theoretically they improved, right? They brought in Contreras instead of Molina. Offensively, that's an upgrade. Walker was supposed to, be this uber prospect, like just smashing. Obviously, he's still young, not a finished product just yet, but he's up to the 5 spot. Is everybody who's missing in this lineup? I'm looking at the lineup. I'm trying to see who: Edmund, Goldie, Arenado, Contreras, Walker, DeYoung, Carlson, Kisner, and Nootbaar is down to the 9 spot. And we'll talk about the other side of that game too, because Wainwright they're talking about like they're like people were like shocked essentially that Wainwright's making his next start because he got his face fully punched in last time, and he's 41 years old, and it's over. It's basically over for Adam Wainwright. But this Marlins team, tough ballpark. The absence of Jazz, no Jazz Chisholm, he's on the IL again. Their lineup is rough. I don't really know how to pick on Wainwright, but they have a 5 total essentially against Wainwright. Their lineup's not great, but Wainwright has been one of the worst pitchers in all of baseball this entire season. Do you have a lean as far as these pitchers? Again, historically, the St. Louis team would smash lefties, Goldie, Arenado, other hitters as well. But not so much this year. A 3.5 total just seems bizarre. And I really like Luzardo. I love his stuff. I think he's one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball. The Marlins pump out spectacular pitchers. Luzardo is certainly one of them. And you mentioned Eflin. Eflin 25% Ks and Nola down to 23.9 this season. Not bad, but historically he has been better. And Tampa has been one of the best offenses in all of baseball. How are you handling those top 3? And it is interesting, and I'm not sure, as we close in on lock, it's going to shuffle a little bit. Let's see, 11-18 is the last time we got ownership, according to the MLB Plate IQ. So that was half hour ago. And we have Nola at 41%, Eflin 37, Luzardo 34. But you have Luzardo getting much more. I think Eflin getting much less, which is kind of interesting. And it's probably somewhere in the middle. Well, what is your read as far as those the top 3 there?
Well, in general, I just ran 300 lineups with the bat projections and everything. Just like the beginning of my normal process.
Yeah.
Like, it's overwhelmingly like Nola, Luzardo, Maeda. Right? Eflin is the odd man out. Obviously, I'm using bat projections, which has in 3 points lower median. So, yeah, that makes sense. And the only other guy that's in there in any significance is Brandon Bialik because the Rockies are awful, right?
Bielak's not special, but he's facing the Rockies, and that's
right.
that.
Well, that's pretty much it. And then everyone else is like, I barely get anything else. So it's like Maeda obviously makes sense because he's cheaper, right? At 7,100, you get a lot more options on your stacks when you play Maeda. I'm not saying Maeda is great, but Maeda's facing the Royals. It's kind of those matchup based things. Like, I'm not a big fan of Nola's matchup against the Rays, but he could pitch 110 pitches and he's a strikeout pitcher, and it's a ballpark upgrade for him. So I have nothing against it. Nola, Luzardo, and Eflin are probably a little bit overpriced, but I think everyone is kind of, other than Maeda, I think everyone is kind of overpriced this slate of pitching anyway. So does it really matter, like the raw salary of what they are? I think from a projection standpoint, Nola and Luzardo are tier 1. Eflin is underneath that, and then you got Maeda and Bialik, and Maeda is like the value pitcher on the slate. I think Maeda is going to actually be higher owned than what I think he'll end up being like 40+% owned.
I don't want 40% Maeda if that's the case. And I was going to say the same thing. I'm looking at our lineup HQ stuff and, the tags, and he's got all the colors, right? Meaning like G's probably hit him, and Noto and Kirkwood and Tim, everybody wrote him up essentially. Yeah. Noto, Kirkwood, Stevie, Tim, like Maeda.
Well, Casey has one of the lowest team totals on the slate. We take a look at the team totals.
They're terrible. That's
right. But I just want to make a case for like Nola. Philly only has a 3.7 team total, which is comparable to St. Louis, Kansas City, to Colorado. So I'm not. I think people are be more likely to play Luzardo over Nola because I think people avoid playing pitchers against Tampa Bay, and people don't mind playing pitchers against the Cardinals.
I do not like putting left-handers against the Cardinals as like a general thought, but
you're scared of Nolan Arenado when he's a lefty matcher.
Yes. Well, I don't know if Cardi's here to give his Arenado takes. I'm not sure if you're aware of his Arenado takes throughout the season, but historically he smashed lefties. Goldie as well. This team has, like I said before, but like they've been one of the bigger disappointments in all of baseball. I guess the Cardinals and producer Steve's Mets, probably the 2 most disappointing teams on the season.
They strike out a lot, though. Even if Luzardo gives up 2 home runs, he can still strike out 9-10 people.
No, I think I'm going to make I have my general rules, and then if I'm willing to break them or not. And I think I'm willing to break it today for Luzardo. I feel all right about him.
What are your general rules?
Well, general rules, I just generally don't like to pick on St. Louis with lefties as a general thought. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So but like
you have to go down to lieutenant rules.
I don't know if I have those necessarily. Yeah.
Colonel rules? Do you have colonel rules?
I don't. You're gonna run through the whole.
I'll run through all the ranks.
I don't know. I don't know all the ranks.
Ensign rules. It depends on obviously what branch of the military.
We said happy 4th, right? Happy 4th. Hope you all enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Don't do anything too stupid. What's the dumbest? You ever do it? Were you one of those guys that would like hold the firework in your hand?
No, do I look like one of those people?
I don't know. And maybe you did one of those PSAs, like 15 years ago, and said, "Don't do what I did."
Right? Don't set off fireworks today. At least before setting your lineups, because you'll need your hands. You'll need your fingers for all your hand builders. If you're a hand builder.
Yeah,
I think you shouldn't be setting off fireworks. If you're someone that just does CSV uploads, go ahead, blow your hands off. It doesn't. I don't think it matters. You can probably use your mouse. You can probably use your nose for your keyboard or something. But if you're a hand builder, definitely those hands are valuable.
I am on team hand building. What are you rolling out today? I signed up for like 10 contests or so, and I think most of it's like single entry, 3 entry max kind of stuff. So I'm not sure how many lineups I'm gonna make. Like I might make 2.
I'm making
split
20,
it off like 5 and 5.
20.
Okay.
So I'm doing 20 in the large field, and then the one lineup in the 121, whatever the top one is.
Yeah, Mr. Richard, shout out Jason Pierre-Paul. You're never too young. Like you're too rich.
What's the deal with Jason Pierre-Paul? Did he blow up his hand with a firework or something?
Yeah, in the middle of a contract for I think he was in the Giants at the time.
I remember that.
He blew off some fingers. Yeah, I think he eventually salvaged his career, and I think I'm not sure if he's still on Tampa. He was on Tampa. But yeah,
isn't there a cornerback in the league that only has one arm?
You're thinking of Griffin, the Griffin brothers. He's no longer there. He was drafted by Seattle out of UCF.
Right.
Shaquille and Shaquem. I think it's Shaquille and one of them was they were both really, really good, and they both ended up in Seattle. And I think they're both now out of the league. I could be wrong though. One might still be around. This is not my. I did not know we were talking like DBs necessarily, but
one thing that to be sure of is that. Like if you're a good pitcher, I mean you don't need both of your arms.
Jim Abbott, is that what you're going with?
Right. Well, remember Jim Abbott switched his
incredible
glove.
Just spectacular. Like people in chat, probably a lot of them are too young to remember Jim Abbott, but he threw a no-hitter famously. But yeah, played for the Angels, played for the Yankees, pitched with one arm. Like
good luck beating that record. The most no-hitters by someone with only one
arm. Yeah, I think there you go. I mean, I don't know if they have a specialty category for him necessarily, but yeah, it is super, super impressive what Jim Abbott did. All right, not on this DFS. It's Daily Fantasy Sports Blender. We care about today and today only. And Jim Abbott, to the best of my knowledge,
you have the sports almanac behind you. I mean, we're talking about. Come on,
I have it behind me.
In the pages of the sports almanac.
Hold on a second. I have it behind me, and I have one next to me as well. There you go. Can you see this? Yes.
Yeah,
there's an iPad in here too. How about that? It's pretty clever. All right, it always gets attention at the airport. The screener's like, well, what's going on? What is this? It looks suspicious for some reason. But yeah, it's the DeLorean that really gets them going. It's like, hold on, that's a red flag. Other pitchers. What's your official Senga take? Because I
don't have a takes. What takes do I have? Senga in the bat has a median projection of 13.37. At 10.1K, that's like 5 points lower than Nolan Luzardo. If you think the ownership is going to be be worthwhile to do so, Senga versus Luzardo or something, then in those lineups, I mean, you could give up those 5 points. I'm more interested really in like if you go off the board. Like I prefer like Bialik, but I mean, if you want to play like Kyle Gibson or Clark Schmidt, like 7,400 for Gibson, 8,300 for Clark Schmidt. I mean, I'm not a big fan of like Dunning, Hendricks, those guys, Greinke, Freeland. I'm not touching. But we also have to realize we talked about in the very beginning that this Yankee game and this Red Sox game. Well, I'm not expecting you're not playing Dunning, you're not playing Bernardino or whoever's pitching for the Red Sox. It's more of a
it's a bullpen game for Boston,
right?
Yeah.
So, but if we're looking at the Orioles-Yankees game, the Gibson-Schmidt matchup, we said before it's July 4th, and I'm going to assume they're going to get the game in. but it doesn't mean the pitchers are going to be able to last if there's going to be a delay in the second or third inning. So you have to weigh that in. That, is it worth it enough to play Gibson or Schmidt if there's any type of extended delay? Like, then maybe they don't come back out. So, like, I'd be concerned a little bit more about that. And it's like you're playing these guys. They project lower. They don't project too badly, better than the other one, the other low end pitching options. But you're doing it primarily for ownership purposes. But I think there are ways to get on this slate where you could play Maeda, Nola, Luzardo, Eflin, Bialik. I don't think you have to go anywhere else. At least me. I'm not going outside of that group. I'm not going.
You keep saying Bialik. I think you're saying like Mayim Bialik. It's Bielak.
Bielak?
Yes.
Bialik. I got Bialys on the mind. You ever had a good Bialy?
I don't think I have. I feel like, am I missing out?
Not really.
Is that a fruit? A Bialy?
No, a Bialy. Bialy is like it's like a half bagel. It's like kind of like a bagel.
Oh, I've had a Bialy.
Between a bagel and a pita bread.
Oh, then they keep the middle. I don't need the middle. You can keep the middle. The middle's
Bialy,
right?
What's a Bialy? What is it? It's not a subtype of bagel. It's sort of like a bagel. It's like a mix between a bagel and a pita.
Yeah. But the middle's included.
It's like a Jewish Polish type of thing. It has onions and flour, and I'm just.
Do you miss those in New York? You probably can't get.
There's a New York. Obviously, it's a New York thing, right?
Can you get a Bialy around the corner? Is that something? I
can't get a good Bialy. I can't even get a good bagel here in Louisville.
You don't get a bagel guy, unfortunately.
What bagel guy? It's all in the water. That's what they say. It's the New York water.
Is it true though? That's my dad would say the same thing. He was from Brooklyn, so. But all right, we shall move on. We shall power through. Speaking of that, by the way, we're on the show and we're missing Joey Chestnut, who will be starting right now, I think, with his hot dog dominance. I think noon is the time, and the Coney Island. I know it's not Brooklyn.
I've been to watch that live.
Really? What is that? What is that like?
Well, I used to. Me and my friend used to go before it was popular. Before it was even on.
Before it jumped the shark.
What?
Before it jumped the shark. I like that before they got popular. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, but I mean, we went. What was the Japanese guy?
Kobayashi.
Kobayashi. We went for a couple of those. That was in the late 90s. But it used to be, I mean, because I lived it was like maybe a 10-minute drive to Coney Island. So we'd go there, 15, 16 years old or something. And you could, you could view, like, there were maybe 300 or 400 people watching. It wasn't on TV, right? They'd have press there, taking pictures or whatever. It would be a nice setup. You'd have the guy in the top hat doing all the stuff and bringing out
the announcer's incredible. Like when they start running off their stats, it's the funniest tongue-in-cheek thing I ever heard. But go ahead.
But then then at one point ESPN said, "Okay, we're going to broadcast this." And then we went one year, and I believe it may have been like maybe the first year that Joey Chestnut competed. And we went down there, and there were like 2,000 or 3,000 people, and they had the ESPN tower things set up and everything with the cameras. And I'm like, okay, we're done with this. This is that you can't find parking anymore. We had to walk like nearly a mile from parking, and then you can't see anything because now there's 2,000-3,000 people here.
Also, feels like you've seen it once, but you get the gist of it. It's the same thing every year, I would imagine. It's a spectacle. It's nonsense.
Right, but it's a fun thing when you're a teenager.
Check the box
right,
off.
You just,
sure.
Okay, what are we doing on July 4th? Right, we got the let's go down. Let's go down to Nathan's. Grab a hot dog with some sauerkraut and hang out and watch the hot dog.
Sauerkraut? Come on, fade the sauerkraut. Dan wants to know
mustard. That's what you're supposed to put on a hot dog.
No, you're supposed to. You're supposed to put what you want on there. Dan wants to know if you're playing Chestnut in your 150. I know you're running out 20. Imagine fading Chestnut. You're just dead.
The lines on those things, dude. I looked at the lines. They have hot dog lines.
Yeah.
Like
73.5.
Is Joey Chestnut, if you consider competitive eating to be a sport, the most dominant person of any sport? I mean, his line is 72.5, and the next biggest line is 52.5. And then a lot of them are in 38s and 40s. I'm like, dude, that's it's like a basketball game, and it's the guy has a line of how many 58 points, and that's the over under or something, or 27 rebounds over. Is there anyone in any sport that been as dominant?
I don't think so. I don't. I mean, again, you're using the term sport very liberally, and I understand what you're doing. But yeah, if you're going to put it,
You
if you're
can
going to
bet
frame
on it.
that way,
It's a sport. I mean, truthfully.
well, I mean, you can bet on a lot of things that aren't necessarily sports, but
Dude,
yeah,
prize
73 and a half.
Prize Picks
It's not that hot, by the way. I would hit the over because the number, it's pretty cool considering I think it's like in the 70s, high 70s. I remember in the past, Roth once bet the under or suggested betting the under because it was almost like 100 degrees, and that matters, right? But
yeah, I mean, look, Prize Picks has numbers up.
All right, let's get back on track. Hey, Donnie's got a real baseball question. Are we willing to give up 3 points in the projection for the ownership discount for Gibson over Maeda? And again, Gibson in that potential weather game, see what Roth has to say. I'm giving it a refresh. I'm not sure when exactly he wrote this up. It's still yellow-orange, but Roth will be on in a half hour. I'll give you the better update as far as what's up in Baltimore and New York.
I think it's perfectly fine, but try to find those 3 points elsewhere, which means that now that you went from Maeda to Gibson, now, I mean, you're more likely to play, a Red Sox one-off or a 3-man or something like, because they're going to be probably the highest owned team on the slate. So like you're able to do that, right? But I think playing, 2 40+% owned pitchers and then the chalk 5-man stack, your leeway on how much leverage you need in the rest of your lineup, you're going to get to the point where you're sharing too many points.
Shout out to Andrew and it's his birthday today. So birthday narrative for Andrew. That means do not get any contest with him because, of course, that means I think that's how it works. You're supposed to win.
Yeah, but it's everyone. It's America's birthday.
Well, but like now he's got the box. He's got America and he's got himself.
Yeah, but we're all at even. You're American. I'm American. It's our birthday today.
Well, I mean,
Dean, what did you get me? It's my birthday.
I got you the same thing I got you last year, Blunder. Remember what I got you last year?
You got me nothing.
Yeah, same thing. That's happy birthday. Beyond Nola and Eflin and Luzardo, again, I'm not embracing this Maeda thing. Is tricky. It is worth noting that Perez is back today, which is good to see. If you're not going to be playing Maeda, Perez, pretty daunting bat. He was held out yesterday. But that Kansas City lineup is so rough, and Maeda's so old. He can only go so long, right?
Why are you so ageist? But he's so old. How old is he?
It's not like a quiz. He's got to throw baseball.
Maeda is 35 years old. That's 9 years younger than me.
Hold on a second. Is he? I thought he was like in his 40s. Is he really only 35?
35 years old. Come on, dude.
Is it his birthday today as well? I feel like he's creeping up on another birthday.
Once you get to our ages, it becomes ridiculous where you go, Kenta Maeda, the old man takes the mound. He's 35. Like, dude, I'm 44. Like I must be. I mean, come on.
That's all right. Well, he's still in baseball years, right? In dog years.
Oh, there's baseball years now.
There is, yes.
In dog years,
turns out athletics are more difficult.
57 years old, but who cares?
But okay, how about this? Injury prone. He's injury prone, historically injury prone.
Yeah,
and they don't want to push him
today.
too hard.
Who cares? As long as he doesn't get injured today.
Yeah, and he's so cheap. Maybe I'm just being stubborn. I just don't want to play. I don't really want to play him, but I might end up begrudgingly playing him. And
why not?
The alternatives are
good. He has two characteristics that favor you. He's old and he's cheap.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Right.
So somebody asked about Kyle Hendricks as a potential pivot, and Hendricks is just the worst. He's bad. Hendricks in the season, you probably don't dig into this stuff. You don't care about this stuff. It's all baked into projections, but his K rate on the season is 13.3%, which is putrid. He used to once have like this ground ball lean. It's kind of sort of there, but it's not what it once was. He's got a career high fly ball percent at 43.9% now. And by the way, speaking of being ageist, Wainwright, I think he's 40, 41. He's a man. 10.7 K% on the season for Adam Wainwright. That's insane. He's a professional. This is what he does for a living. And he strikes out less than 11% of the hitters he faces, which is completely silly.
Right. It says a lot where Greinke doesn't. We have guys like Kyle Freeland on the slate.
Yeah.
And Zach Greinke on the slate. And they're Zach Davis on the slate. And they have better strikeout percentages than what you've been
by far. Yeah, it's rough. I'm not playing Kyle Hendricks for the record. Somebody asked about Hendricks. There's just no upside in it. He's got to have BABIP go in his favor. Like theoretically, that's possible when you eat up 6 innings or so and maybe strike out 4 or 5. But I just don't. And like I was like, don't see the upside. If you can get 15 points out of him, sure. Belak, I feel a little better about him. Alan's asking about Belak just because that Colorado lineup is pretty horrendous. I assume they're favored. He's got at least a decent chance at the W. Yeah, they're basically minus 200 favorite, so if he can stick around for 5 innings. We don't need the win points, but we'll take it. I'll take those W points. Also worth noting, by just kind of way the slate lines up, Blender, we're not going to have a lot of lineups, at least several lineups, when the slate starts, because it's essentially chopped in two. Like FanDuel just chopped it in two and said, here's 4 and here's 5 more.
That's going to make me like those teams more. The Astros, the Mets, the Brewers.
Diamondbacks.
Maybe not the Diamondbacks.
Well, I'm just naming teams that, the Brewers I kind of like against Hendricks because Hendricks is terrible. And we were talking about Senga before. Like Senga, the Ks are good, the walks are bad. Arizona is a pretty contact-heavy team.
I guess I would prefer to play Arizona if Senga was owned, but Senga isn't owned. So, like,
yeah, I like Belak. I think is my SB2. If I can't get to 2 of Nola, Eflin, Luzardo.
So you'd rather play Belak than Maeda?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm talking ownership and gamesmanship and all.
For that reason, okay. But I mean, from a raw perspective,
yeah. No, I can see the projections too.
Right.
I can see them.
How old is Brandon Belak?
He's a spry like 27, I think. That's
27.
Right.
So yeah. So you like
did
the young.
Did I get it right? Are you googling?
You're like the young.
Nailed it. I just won both showcase showdowns. So Belak is 27 years old. I think Luzardo is my favorite pitcher, which again it goes against my instinct, but I like Luzardo a fair bit, and I'm not necessarily afraid of St. Louis today, and that's kind of where I'm at. And Philadelphia and Tampa, facing each other, top 2 pitchers, Nola and Eflin, pretty good offenses. I know it's a good ballpark to pitch in, but I think Luzardo is my favorite, but it's close. It's close, and the ownership stuff is tricky because we have kind of 2 different sets of it. Maybe we get a refresh, we'll get a new batch, but the way we're seeing it as far as the plate IQ projections, Nola, Eflin, and Luzardo are pretty close. Nola getting the most, which wouldn't surprise me. Anything else of note as far as pitchers, or shall we move on and talk about some of your favorite stacks?
Let's talk about stacks.
What are your favorite stacks today? What's jumping out to you?
I don't know these people.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, what are you leaning to? Yeah.
Okay, let me see what the buckets are. I ran 300 lineups. Let's see what the buckets are.
Tell the people what the bucket rules are. Tell them what that means, what the buckets are.
Their bucket rules?
Yeah, well, you apply rules
bucket lists. I don't know about bucket rules.
Well, how do you come up with the list? I
run 300 lineups with 5-man stacks and see what shows up more than higher projected lineups than others. So this is irrespective of ownership, right? So
yeah,
I would say that let's take a look at these buckets. Okay, I'd say there's bucket A, and then there's bucket B has a bunch of teams. Bucket 1, bucket 2.
Wait, hold on. There's bucket A and then there's bucket B.
Whatever. I don't know if I'm doing it numerically or anything like that.
Numbers or letters?
Okay, I would say that there's 3 buckets. Obviously, there's a 4th bucket with all the garbage teams that I'm not even going to bother with. I would say there's 3 buckets. There's
you like the vomit stacks, though, sometimes.
There's 1 team in bucket 1. There's like maybe 3 teams, and maybe 3 teams, 3 teams in bucket 2, and then a whole bunch of teams in bucket 3.
So there's 1 team above everybody else.
Yes.
And this factors in salaries too. Correct?
This is factors in salary. Yeah, just it doesn't factor in ownership. Just projection and salary and how you fit together lineups.
And this is where I'm supposed to guess what that 1 team is, right?
Yes, but the 1 team is easy.
Well, now that you frame it that way, is the 1 team easy?
Yes.
I don't think it's easy.
I mentioned it. We mentioned it earlier. Do you not pay attention?
I'm not listening the whole time.
You're on the show. Why aren't you listening the whole time?
I'm reading chat. I'm doing things. So I was gonna say it's the Marlins when everything's considered.
No, you're not even close.
What do you mean? It's not either it's right or it's wrong. It's not even close. The Marlins
Well, you're not
are
even
in
close.
bucket
I
two.
mean, like literally,
The Marlins are in bucket 2, correct? Or bucket B, however you want to.
No, the Marlins are in bucket 3.
What?
Yes,
That's. I think that's incorrect. I believe that's incorrect. You have to readjust your buckets.
Well, I'm not readjusting my buckets. I ran the lineups. I have no control of the buckets. These aren't my opinions. I'm just looking at numbers. Donnie Watson got it in chat. People in chat are, come on, they should be on the show.
Is it?
They pay attention more than you, and you're on the show.
So it's the Texas-Boston game, and I don't really like bullpen games to pick on as a general thought, my general rules.
Well, Red Sox aren't picking on a bullpen. They're picking on Dame Dunn.
Yes. Yeah, Dame. It's the Boston side, but I don't agree that Boston's like the clear and obvious like best offense in this slate.
Well, I'm not saying you should not just show. I'm just.
Do you see some of the names
of
this Boston
I'm
team?
just the messenger, Dean. That's all I'm doing.
I think they're fine, and I think they're bucket worthy, but
But they're clearly the top bucket according to my numbers. Who's in the second bucket then? There are 3 teams in the second bucket.
Houston.
Houston would be one, yes.
I guess Minnesota.
No.
Ooh.
Minnesota's in the third bucket.
By the way, interesting. Minnesota going forward, Blender, and the way you do your projections and stuff like this, myself and Kirk were talking about this yesterday. Minnesota's kind of the new San Fran, where they are obsessed with pinch hitting, especially
it's factored in,
start.
Dean. It's factored.
Yeah, I don't know if it's factored in.
Risk.
Yeah, no, but we called. We said all 3 of these guys are going to be get coming into the game. They all like again. It's a little different because when a lefty starts, you're more on alert. So it's not necessarily applied to today, but just put it in your back pocket. Whenever the Twins start against a lefty, it's going to be dicey as far as certain players sticking around.
Dean,
because yes,
what happens if I don't have a back pocket?
Well, put it somewhere. I don't know. Put it on do you have like a Post-it note available somewhere?
My front pockets. You want me to put it next to my wallet? I can.
You have a front pocket but no back pocket?
Yeah, who has back pockets?
Who has front pockets?
Fred, the little side pockets, the normal pockets, the back pocket. Who wants to sit down on stuff? Why do you carry stuff in your back pocket and sit on it? That's stupid.
What are you carrying?
Wallet, keys.
You don't have a Merce?
Why would I have that? No, you put in your pocket.
I don't know. All right. So who? Second stack. Bucket number 2 or bucket number B, if you will.
Right. Bucket number 2. Yes. So Houston is in. There are 3 teams in the second bucket. Houston is one of them.
Houston's definitely one of them.
Yes.
Milwaukee's got to be in that.
Milwaukee's the second out of the 3.
Okay. So we got. Oh, maybe you know what? I think it's Texas.
Texas is in the third bucket.
I don't agree with your bucket alignment. I do not agree with your bucket alignment.
That's fine.
I don't think. Wait, you said the Marlins are in bucket 3?
Yeah, the Marlins are in bucket 3. Yes.
Yeah,
they're at the bottom of bucket 3.
That's again. You got to rearrange those buckets. I think that's wrong. And I never stand for the Marlins.
I'm just showing you numbers. I'm not in control of the buckets.
Jared said that Blender's buckets are whack. Just for the record.
Right. Steve got it right. Steve knows.
Well, he's just touting his team.
Well, that's the right team. It's the guy. It's the Mets. The Mets.
Yeah. And how broke would you be if you bet the Mets every single day? You'd be on a bench somewhere.
Well, it depends on the odds that you get when they win. If they're plus whatever.
Today's a good matchup, though.
There you go. There's a look in producer Steve's. I don't know if it's a house or a Verbo or are we renting? Do we know people up there in New York?
We're currently in an Airbnb.
Airbnb, yeah. I couldn't think of that. I thought of Verbo, which is like that's the contrarian. Airbnb was the chalk. Wasn't coming to me for some reason. All right. So talking about the Mets, we don't have an official lineup. Obviously, they're facing Zach
Davies.
Davies.
To talk about. They're in the second bucket.
Okay, who do we like in the Mets? Usual suspects, right?
You got McNeil, Lindor, Pham, Nimmo, right? I'm getting Alonso. I mean, just obviously 5-man stacks, right?
Polar Bear's back in the home run derby.
I mean, we have to get that line. I mean, the problem is that we don't have the lineups. Right?
Yeah, well, it's we'll figure it out. And if for whatever reason you get something goofy, there's going to be 4 games to pivot to, right? There's 4 games at 4:00. So for some reason, one of your guys is sitting. You'll have, if you can't just plug in the backup, you'll have some flexibility. So you're not going to get stuck with somebody not playing. It'll be fun. Just pay attention if you're out there having a good time barbecuing or doing whatever you're doing. Just to understand that the lineups are not officially out there. Get your RotoGrinders alerts turned on.
The third bucket has a lot of teams in it.
Yeah, well, how many are not in the third? Like in a fourth? Imagine is the fourth bucket's just like a garbage can, right? It's not an actual.
Yeah,
bucket,
the fourth bucket is mostly a garbage can. Yes.
How many teams are in the garbage can? Let's work backwards.
Let's. Some of these teams don't even show up at all, so I don't know. Like, I mean, like, okay, so teams that are in the garbage can are like the Phillies against Eflin. The Rockies are pretty much in the garbage can. The Rays are pretty much in the garbage can.
Which, I mean, like, if you're running 150, I think you're supposed to get at least. It doesn't take much to get over the field on it. Is the point?
No, but I mean, obviously they're facing good pitchers.
Yeah,
but yeah. Those are anyone. I mean, 1, 2, 3. I don't know how many. 16 teams here. Yeah, that's 8 games on the slate. So yeah, so those are the garbage teams.
By the way, Dan's asking about Seattle. This is kind of what we're talking about. The way the slates are, they are pretty goofy today. DK did not. They cut their games off. I think at 4:05 or 4:10. FanDuel chopped their games in half, so it's like the 1 o'clock slate, and like the 4 o'clock with 1 to 2, and then the 4 o'clock games. But FanDuel included the 4:35 Seattle versus San Francisco game. So I assume Seattle was not even like bucket eligible.
No. I'm going by the DK 8-game slate.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, they have a team total of 4, bad ballpark.
Right.
You know,
but everyone else on this slate, like outside of like, you got Boston in the top bucket. You got the Mets, the Brewers, the Astros in the second bucket. And then you got, let's see, the Rangers, the Twins, the Orioles, the Yankees.
I kind of like the Orioles.
The Cubs. The Diamondbacks kind of don't make it. Miami is a little bit lower than that. The Royals are a little bit lower than that. St. Louis is a little lower than that. So but the difference between like bucket 3 and bucket 4 is not that. It's like 1 or 2 points. The difference between bucket
we didn't get. Oh, go ahead.
3 and bucket 2 is like 2 or 3 points. And the difference between bucket 2 and bucket 1 is like 4+ points.
So what do you do with this information? How do you apply this to making your lineups? Okay, you got your buckets delegated. Everybody's assigned a bucket. Now what, Blender? You're making 20 lineups. Now what?
Now I compare those numbers to ownership. So like let's say for instance, Boston was the top bucket team, and I projection wise, and they were like 2% owned. It's like I had a ton of them. But Boston's going to be also the chalkiest team on the slate. So you have to compare. It's like, okay, in my Boston lineups, I need to have something different in them, right? So those are the lineups that may not have like a Luzardo-Maeda combo, or may not have a one-off or a 3-man that's, that's where you play. You're playing some weird team that's like 3% owned or something, right? We're getting an alert now. The Orioles-Yankees game is going to be delayed.
Okay.
I don't know what that means. I
5-10 minutes or so. Well, there's weather issues. What do you mean you don't know what that means?
Obviously, I know what that. Yes, I delayed. What
it means it's not gonna, okay, so you know how time is a concept, and we all agree upon this. We've all signed up for it.
But you know what I mean? Because Roth comes on and says it's like, okay, there's probably going to be a delay or a late start or something, and he knows like where all the storms are positioned. So sometimes a delay early is like, oh, they're going to late start it. That's a good thing. And sometimes he's like, I don't know why they're late starting this, because like, some tropical storm is coming through in 3 hours and they're never going to get this game in.
He was
like, I don't know what it means that way.
I'm checking his article. It says there's a pretty good chance for a delay here, but as things clear in the late afternoon, I expect they're able to get the game in one way or another. Speaking of getting it in, I got to get this in before we yield to crunch time. Stat Hero is a unique fantasy sports platform you already know and love that allows users to compete against the house instead of players. You're not competing against Blender and all his buckets. The Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em, it's still going on. Free-to-play contest, win and start your streak. Keep the streak alive by playing each and every day. Build your streak. Win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and cash prizes. What kind of cash prizes? $20,000 first place prize for the Searing 20. Use the promo code GRINDERS, GRINDERS. That's GRINDERS. 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today at Stat Hero Grinders is the promo code once again. Blender, can I dare? I'm going to ask you for a home run call. You're just going to go ahead and cheat and use the bat.
Yeah,
right?
I have to go get my Oracle. Right, let me go get my Oracle. I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't know I had to bring out the Oracle.
Well, I mean, I have the Almanac. I'm not sure which is better, the Almanac or the Oracle. I think the precogs trumps them all, but I don't think either one of us have access to that. No, precogs. That's you got.
That's from Minority Report.
Okay. Yes, there you go. Really underrated movie. Really underrated movie. People should watch that if they haven't seen it before. I don't know. Why don't people talk about Minority Report? It's really, really solid. Really, really good. Spielberg, Colin Farrell, Tom. You've heard of Tom Cruise? He's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. I got my Oracle.
All right.
The Oracle's easy.
Am I supposed to predict who this is, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, why not?
Ooh, let's see. Who is the most likely person to hit a home run today? Oh, I'm going to say it's Rafael Devers.
No, I mean, he's not even on the screen. No, you're not even close.
Really? Oh, okay. Hold on a second.
I mean, he's up there. He's in like the top, like
not on the screen.
20. He's like top 20, maybe.
There
are four people on this slate. There are four, right? Because some of these are on the other slate.
Polar Bear, Alonso.
No, sorry. There's four on the slate that have a .30 home run projection or better, and it's .31 or .3. That's why you put. Here's the bucket, Dean. It's the home run bucket. So there's four people in the home run bucket.
Well, wait a second. You're saying Alonso's not even on the Family Feud board? Most likely
no, he's not in the bucket. No,
I disagree. You didn't survey the right 100 people. That's wrong.
Well, I'm looking at the Oracle. It's not up to me.
Hold on. We have a couple more contestants that want to play on the fly. TJ's probably cheated. He's probably looked at the bat. We have STL cards of Kevin Roth. They'll be talking to us in just a second. But feel free to throw out a name. Who is most likely to hit a home run today, according to the bat, a.k.a. the Oracle? It's not Alonso and it's not Devers. I mean, it can always be Schwarber. The matchup's not great.
Schwarber's in the bucket. Okay, you got one guy in the bucket.
Yeah,
Buxton.
Okay.
Buxton is number one in the bucket. But TJ probably looked. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, the Angels are playing. The Angels are playing, so the answer is Shohei Ohtani.
Later tonight, Roth. Later tonight.
Oh, all right.
Fair enough. But good effort. A good effort.
Yeah.
Roth, okay, I got a question. Who cares about the buckets? Roth. Yeah. July 4th. Because the thing is, I think people don't give you enough credit that you're not only a meteorologist, but because you do this for DFS and betting purposes, you tend to have much more experience in how certain teams and municipalities handle delays, right? We know the Nationals, it could be a bright sunny day and they don't want to play. Nationals, right? You know this a little bit more.
Minnesota's great, yeah.
July 4th, a lot of these home teams do fireworks shows, right? It's a big day out at the, at the ballpark. They make a lot of money. These two games in Boston and New York, knowing that factor, do you think that there's at any point where they don't play the game at all?
I don't think I'm with you where I feel like this is a family event. This is the family's plan for the day is go out here and do 4th of July at the ballpark. And I think that they're probably going to be just ridiculously patient. It does get to a point where if it goes into the evening, now you're screwing over the players' plans with their families. So that's the one thing that I could think maybe if it goes that late, they could wave the white towel. But I think they're going to figure it out, honestly.
Hey, Roth, in years past, you've had a take on Joey Chestnut and how many hot dogs. I remember, I think there was a couple years ago where it was like 100 degrees in Coney Island, and you took the under on it. That the under was a sharp play. And I think he went under. He only had like 69 or something.
That's right. He went, well, you can't eat in 100-degree weather. It's tough to eat 72 hot dogs in that kind of weather, Dean.
There's a weather report for the hot dog contest.
Yeah, there's a reason why if you ever go into like a McDonald's or certain restaurants, it's super cold because your body gets hungrier the colder you are.
I didn't know that, but I like it. I approve.
So, do you have a lean? I think it's 72. It's 73 or 73 and a half.
72 and a half, I think.
Did you look at this today, Roth, or no? You're not prepared for such a question.
No, I looked at the weather. Are you kidding? That's the first thing I did. Yeah, I was looking at Coney Island weather. I'm going to take the under. It's like around 80 degrees. It's a little humid, a little hot. It's also storming. I feel like that could provide a distraction. There's thunderstorms as he's trying to eat. It's
I would think, don't they dip the hot dogs in water, wouldn't it
That's
be,
the science of it.
wouldn't
Yeah,
the rain
Kobayashi created
actually
that
help
theory,
with the
yeah.
slickness of the hot dogs?
I assume it's got to be covered because it's like pouring rain right now. So I think it's probably covered. I don't know. I wish I was watching, honestly.
I think he needs somebody to like push him, and he's got nobody pushing him. He's just playing against himself at this point in history, I suppose.
Yeah, but the question becomes right now that this thing is such a big event, and I think his odds to win are like minus 5,000. Like at
I saw
what
minus
point,
3,000. Like, yeah,
at what point does somebody like pay him off to win a like? Will Joey Chestnut win the hot dog eating contest? No, at plus 2,000. And then
But these books don't take that. These limits.
this
on
is the
these
best
markets
30
are
for
low.
30.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. If he takes a dive, if you have a reversal of fortune, you're automatically eliminated. I don't know if he can force
Do you,
himself.
do you think anyone could get more than $500 down on any of these?
I believe Circa, which is the most widely, praised for their posted limits and stuff. The guy tweeted out last night that the max was 1,000.
Okay.
I thought I
bet.
saw Grant post a screenshot. He got like 1,500 down to win.
No,
Like
it was
But
500.
on
It was- I
Chestnut,
saw
though.
his. It was
Yeah,
500.
not in the field. He can't. He's
Let's-
not taking,
no,
okay,
somebody
okay.
else.
But let's say this: if he loses, would anyone like not claim conspiracy? If somehow he loses,
I mean, it's got to be. He can't lose without something going wrong. By the way, we've got inside information here from Matt, who says he was watching an interview and that the delay, apparently there's a lightning delay happening right now. The delay makes the dogs colder and more rubbery, which makes them harder to eat. But if it's
Ooh.
raining, it does help soften the buns. Blender, you were right. It softens the buns and the buns go down quicker.
It's a little push-pull, right?
Right. I don't know which way it's going to go.
Blender, you got anything else before I yield to the Fanduel sponsor?
No, I gotta go to change my hot dog model and then start getting some down. There's a lightning delay and maybe the lines haven't adjusted.
What would Cardi's model? Just the dog? What would it be called?
The
It's got to be
dog.
one word, one syllable.
The bun it has to be with a B.
The meat.
It's got to be a B too. Yeah, you're right. All right, that was Blender. I was Dean. Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time. You got TJ Zwarych. You have STL Cards. You have Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Just trying to get some updates out here on what is really a busy 4th of July day. Hey, happy 4th, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us on this 4th. We appreciate it. I hope you guys are having a good day. Got some big plans. Going to be grilling out here. Hopefully, y'all are having some nice plans as well for the 4th. We got two of the sharpest minds in the biz hanging out with us. We got STL Cards in the house. What's up, Cards?
yeah, I've been better to be honest. We had our oldest turned 13 on the 1st, so we decided to have our little gathering yesterday. We blew some stuff up, did all that stuff, but we decided to rent a large bouncy house / water slide for our kid's birthday because he's 13. He's kind of getting hard to buy for, so we decided this would be cool for the party and the kids and stuff. So have you ever heard of such a thing, Roth? A bouncy house water slide? Are you familiar?
No, it sounds amazing.
So it is amazing, and anybody can do it. So, of course, the adults can get in on the fun as well. But it's very tall, so you have to climb up, inside the left half of the water slide. You climb up, and there's these little things to grip on, and you climb. And that gets difficult when it gets wet.
Sure.
And then it connects to a hose, and there's a fan that keeps it all blown up. And it's, you probably got to climb up a good, I don't know, it's maybe 25 feet, maybe.
You made an ass out of yourself, didn't you?
I did not. No, I didn't. So the problem is, right, I have a little more weight than the kids, and I was also wearing like a dry fit t-shirt and like athletic shorts. So I zipped down that thing because there was nothing, once the clothes got wet.
Yeah,
I was zipping. So every time I would hit the end, and there's a little thing that catches you at the end, and it, you hit the pad and your feet go up in the air and stuff. And my feet would go way up in the air. Well, one time when I decided to go down, I was not correctly braced for the end of the slide. And instead of my feet going up, my left foot bent underneath, which has resulted in what I believe is a couple of broken toes. My foot really hurts, and I cannot walk very well this morning. So I somehow navigated my way downstairs to do the show. But the party was great, and the kids had an absolute blast with the water slide. But I have injured myself.
We're too old for that kind of stuff,
I
Cards.
know,
So
but
we're past
it
our
was
prime.
fun.
We're past our prime, man. Well, glad the kids had a good time. Sorry. Yeah, and by the way, you definitely broke your foot. If it like still hurts today, you're screwed.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hey, we got TJ as well in the house. TJ not celebrating the 4th of July because it's Canada. Or maybe he is. Maybe he's celebrating vicariously with us. What up, TJ?
Yeah, celebrating vicariously with you guys. You know, maybe I'll have a drink or two today just to be there in spirit with you guys. I think I'm on the morning grind later with Stevie as well. So nice day of baseball. Like I already got all my bets in. Don't have a DFS lineup in yet. I decided to go with the sleep in and then just get the research ready as opposed to building a bunch of lineups. So we'll see. Maybe I build a single entry during the show because I love me some daytime baseball and it's too tough to pass up.
Yeah, and it's kind of a fun day with the games scattered all across the day. We do need to dive into the weather here. T from Loke says, Cards doing the show today is greater than Ronnie Lott chopping off a finger to play in a game. Did he do that? I got to read up on that story.
I do
Cards,
too.
you're a
I'm
gamer.
not familiar, but I mean, it's not like I can't function. It's just really frustrating when you can't like walk. I don't know. Like if at least if I do something to a hand, I've got the other hand, but like you kind of need both feet to walk.
It is problematic. Let's go ahead and dive into the content here. Kenny says, hey, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up. Best content in the biz, we agree. Give us a little thumbs up here. 2 games here that are immediately starting and have immediate rain threats. It's New York, where there's already a delay. And then it's Boston, which is starting dry. But I think it's likely that rain moves in during the game. The fact that I think they're going to start in Boston means I think they're going to finish, even if rain moves in. So as far as bats go in that game, I'm cautiously optimistic in Boston that they're going to figure it out, even if there is a delay. The other one is New York, where they've got a late start right now. The thunderstorm that caused the late start, that's already cleared out. So truthfully, they could hurry it up, pull the tarp, warm up, and have only a minimal late start. The issue is that there's still more rain upstream. I don't know if you guys can hear my kids just screaming upstairs. It's killing me right now. There's more rain upstream. So, okay, if they start this game, there's still a high chance of a delay. I don't like pitchers in either of those games, New York or in Boston. Are pitchers a thing that we want?
We definitely don't want pitchers in Boston. That's not a question.
Good.
New York, you could maybe make a case for a pitcher, but that's not up. I mean, it's very low likelihood of you needing a pitcher in either of those games. People will want bats from those games more than anything.
Okay. Bats in Boston, I like. Bats in New York, I think are probably going to work out just because of what we talked about. It's 4th of July. They got big things happening. But that's by no means a lock or a promise. There's legitimate risk in New York. And then the next game we got to talk about is in Minnesota. That game starting a little bit later here, but just by what? This is an hour after some of the other games. A chance for a delay, I think, is what we'll see in Minnesota. So that's it for now. Of course, I'm going to be posting updates here as we go through the. Let's talk about the content side of things, guys. TJ, you want to dive into what we're doing pitcher-wise?
It's a pretty ugly pitching slate, despite the amount of games we got. Like on especially DraftKings, that's I believe an 8-game slate, and it's just really not that nice. Our top 2 options are actually, in terms of maybe our top 2 options, Nola and Eflin are in there as well, but 2 of our top 4 options, they're on the Fanduel slate as well. So it's Jesus Luzardo if you want to pay up. It's Kenta Maeda if you want to pay down. It's not going to be sneaky. And there's not really that many other options that you want to be going to here. It's really just the 2 of them. So Luzardo if you want to pay up on FanDuel, Maeda if you want to pay down. And then on DraftKings, you add in Zach Eflin and Aaron Nola. That is basically it. Are you on the same page with that, Cards?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a day where it's surprising with all the games on DraftKings that we don't have a lot of high-end pitching today. Luzardo is going to be the clear chalk. I mean, the Cardinals just haven't lived up to expectations all year. He's shown impeccable control of late, rarely walking, more than one batter in a start. I think I saw something that he had a 9-start stretch with 0 or 1 walks in each game. And His strikeout prop is actually the highest that we have on the slate as well. If you're playing the very early slate on FanDuel, which only has the first few games, Luzardo is like way ahead of the field in terms of upside and safety. So I think that he's a no-brainer. Maeda will be the cheaper option. And I think Luzardo Maeda will be the most popular pairing on DK, even with the full slate. So, Eflin is probably a no-go for me. I just don't think he has the ceiling. He's more expensive than Luzardo. Nola, I think, would be the tournament play out of that group for me. But from there, it's iffy trying to find anything else that you might like. Maybe Senga, if he can keep the walks in check, would be kind of your dart throw GPP option. But yeah, I agree with you there, TJ. It's just it's a pretty weak slate for pitching. So I think you try to get even the safe options. I think in tournaments are fine. And then you try to differentiate your lineups in GPPs with how you handle the bats.
Quick note, I did see, and I didn't really clarify this, Mark and JT both saying, hey, what are your thoughts on Minnesota, delay-wise? I think the chance of a delay is pretty low, maybe if anything, a late start. I just looked at the very latest forecast models in Minnesota, and I like what I'm seeing there. So if that's a spot for pitchers, I think that probably works out. Just make sure that you check back with me. Like, I will tweet an update before first pitch. Like, the main storm system just went through Minnesota. And I think for the most part, it's pretty quiet after that. So I say thumbs up to pitching in Minnesota. I assume that's something we want, Cards. I kind of missed the fully.
Yeah, I think the Minnesota pitcher will be the priority kind of cheaper play because there's just not a lot of pitching today. So with the context of the slate, he will be fairly popular, particularly on DraftKings.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the bats then, and we'll dive right into it. JT says, I'm getting the bad weather now, and I'm east of Minneapolis. Yeah, and that's moving east. So that's clearing out away from Minneapolis, which is good. Good news here. Let's talk about the bats. Cards, I will let you lead us into it. If we don't really love pitcher, I imagine we do kind of love some of these bats.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it's interesting because there's a lot of good offense spots today, but yet there's not one spot that stands out wholeheartedly above the rest. So either there's two schools of thought here. Everything's going to be spread out enough to where you don't really have to worry about ownership and you just play the teams that you like the most. Or B, you can still kind of go underweight on the teams that are a little bit chalky. Because you look at the Yankees are at 4.6 runs, the Marlins are at 4.9 runs, Texas is at 5.5, Boston's at 5, Minnesota's at 5.2, Milwaukee's at 5, Houston's at 5.2, the Mets are at 4.9. So just so many different spots for offense that to me, I think you just play who you want. I will maybe go a little bit underweight on Houston just because right now we've got Altuve, and this is on the later slate if you're on FanDuel, but the full day slate, I'm kind of talking the offenses here in context of the full slate. FanDuel has split them up into a very early slate and then another early slate. But if you're playing the first slate on FanDuel, I think Texas and Minnesota are probably my favorites. I'll be a little bit underweight on Boston. Even though Dunning's not as good as his surface numbers would indicate. A, we've got the weather issue there, and B, Boston's projecting as perhaps the chalkiest of the offenses. So I like Texas and Minnesota, and then if you're getting into the later games that are on DraftKings, I think my favorite in terms of, my exposure compared to the field might actually be the Mets. That's probably a destiny for failure the way they've played this year, but I do like the Mets, probably be a little bit underweight on Houston, but really a number of different ways you can go here today. It's a really interesting slate for offense, and there's going to be a team or two out there that scores double digits today.
Okay, TJ, your favorite teams?
19 likes away from our first Spidey Bomb, and then if we can get it up to 150 likes, which is less than half the people watching, we'll get a second Spidey Bomb. So hit the like for July 4th for some great content. It is free, and I got some home run bets for you. I agree with Cards that Minnesota as well as Texas are actually my two favorites today. Obviously, we got to worry a little bit about the weather, but I really like the Baltimore lefties today. I'm a big fan of Baltimore. There's some of these positions like Gunnar Henderson leading off. You can play at third or short, and Adley Rutschman at catcher that they just feel really nice. So I do think I'm going to take a shot and hope that weather in New York goes pretty well today. It's not a great ballpark, but Miami going up against Adam Wainwright, I think, is an awesome stack today. Not to rub it in Cards' face at all. But
Wainwright's a mess, man.
Wainwright's just horrific at this stage in his career. So I think Miami is a very strong stack. And then I really like the Mets call for tournaments as well.
Very good. Let's go position by position, starting off with a little catcher talk. TJ, lead us off.
So, yeah, I mentioned Adley Rutschman. He's probably my favorite tournament play here on the slate. Contreras, Garver, the other Contreras, Perez, these guys are all fine. But I think my favorite option on the slate is going to be Adley Rutschman. If I need something in the mid-tier, I'll probably go to Yainer Diaz. And then if I need to full-out punt, I think it's Nick Fortes going up against Wainwright at 2.7.
Okay, Cards.
Yeah, not much different at catcher there. I think Rutschman with the splits of Schmidt is the top play if you're spending like the Garver call as well. I think contrarian tournament play, maybe Elias Diaz has been maybe the one bright spot for Colorado this year. He is hitting cleanup today, which is more of a testament to how bad Colorado is compared to how good he is. But he's still been solid, and Belak is, he's hittable. So Elias Diaz, maybe the one-off GPP play. You can maybe mini stack Colorado if you want. It's not crazy on this slate, but I don't mind him as a one-off in tournaments as well.
Okay, very good. How about first base?
All right. So interesting that first base is probably going to be a position that more people go cheaper at today. We tend to think of it as a spend up position, but most of the spend up first basemen have tough matchups today. Goldschmidt going up against Luzardo. He's always interesting for GPPs. You can target some of these Cardinals righties if you're not on Luzardo. Wouldn't be my first play. I'd have to be quite a few lineups deep, but Christian Walker has to face Senga. If I'm spending top dollar, again, I kind of like the Mets against a low strikeout pitcher in Zach Davies. So I think it's probably Pete Alonso for me if I'm spending top dollar. But I think this is a spot to go cheaper. Jose Abreu has been a lot better of late. Alex Kirilloff has good numbers against right-handed pitching. Rowdy Tellez always, brings some power and facing a low strikeout guy in Hendricks today. I think Casas will be a popular punt for Boston, particularly on that shorter Fanduel slate. You can play him as a cheap guy as well.
Okay, very good. TJ, your thoughts at first? You're muted, homie.
Sorry, the cat was being wild. There's a lot of cheap options today that are really strong, like Rowdy Tellez at 3.6 on DraftKings. Tristan Casas, Jose Abreu is in a really great spot today. I like Garrett Cooper. And even we talked about liking Minnesota today, and Donovan Solano is starting at second against a righty. So that should limit his pinch hit risk quite a bit. And so when you can get a full out punt batting second today, that's very interesting. Jake Bowers has some pinch hit risk. Very interesting today. If I want a spend up today, that's going to be a little bit different, that I think has very high upside. It's going to be Pete Alonso, and we're 4 likes away from 100 likes. So let's keep hitting that like button. And Spidey Bum number 1 today is actually the polar bear himself, Pete Alonso. You can get him for plus 350 on FanDuel. So keep hitting that like button, and I got some a little higher odds for you as well. But the first Spidey Bum is Pete Alonso.
They just canceled the Nathan's hot dog contest.
Oh, that's anti-American.
How can you can't just let the storm go by? How can you cancel the Nathan's hot dog contest? That is absolutely ludicrous.
These guys probably just haven't eaten for how many days now, and it's just like they simply can't wait any longer.
Yeah. Wow, that's wild. All right, let's talk second
But
base.
I mean, can't you move it indoors somewhere?
Right.
Put it at the Garden.
4th of July. I don't even understand. All right, TJ, what do we do in a second?
Yeah, second base today. Sorry, I got hit with the something went wrong. Reload your lineup HQ. So Luis Arias is a really strong play here at this position today. Jose Altuve is going to pick up a ton of ownership on DraftKings, and he's a great play as well. Semien is fine. Gleyber Torres is all right today. I really like Ketel Marte as a tournament contrarian option today. But this is actually somewhere where that you're pretty likely to be spending up a little bit, at least to the mid 4K range.
Very
Dubon
good.
also as well on DraftKings. You can play at 3.4 if you need to save salary.
Jesus Christ. Cards, your thoughts? What a day.
Roth is having a moment here this afternoon, but that's okay. That's quite the howl there. Yeah, agree on second. It's fairly weak, so spending up is probably the prudent option. You look at the projected ownership, and most of the guys that you see at the top at second base today are going to be the spendier plays: Semien, Arias, Torres. Torres is a little bit cheaper on Fanduel. I kind of like him a little bit better there than on DraftKings. Dubon is as a lower cost option as well. I don't think we have the Houston lineup yet. That's a 4-10 game, so just make sure you check back in on that.
We do have the Houston lineup.
Must have come out in the last little bit then. So presuming that Dubon is sitting first or second.
Second, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so he's fine. That's about it. Second today.
Okay, third base.
All right, third base. Again, another probably spot to spend today. We can get a cheap option at first. You can go cheap at catcher. There's some cheap options in the outfield. So third base, probably another spend position. Mentioned that I'll be underweight on Boston as a whole. Devers is one guy that I wouldn't mind playing as a one-off, even if you're off of Boston. But otherwise, Josh Young. You've got Gunnar Henderson, third base shortstop on some sites. Michael Garcia is leading off for Kansas City. He'll get some steam as a punt play, but if you're not on Maeda, I think he's fine as long as the weather cooperates. Arenado, I mentioned the Cardinals righties as contrarian tournament plays. Brett Beatty, if he's in the lineup, we've got him projected and hitting ninth. I don't like him as much if he draws the 9 spot, but against a low strikeout pitcher, he does have some pop. So Bregman against the lefty always in play as well. So probably another spend position for most, I would think.
Okay. TJ, is it your turn on third? I don't know.
Yeah,
where
it
we're
is.
At.
It is.
All right.
So just a heads up, Steve, on the screen share, it's on the all day slate right now, I believe. So it's got all those guys in there for the multiple slates. But if that was on purpose, then keep
we're talking about both the afternoon, and there's none for both. So I just removed the games that started.
Halfway through that statement, I realized that was actually a really good idea, and that I shouldn't have said anything. And so good call on that one. And so third base today. Rafael Devers is projecting super well on the bat. He's got all kinds of rainbow colors on his name today in terms of tags. He's a very strong one as my dogs run into the house to come say hello in here. Gunnar Henderson is, as long as that weather is all right, is probably my favorite play at the position today. Josh Jung batting third in a great spot. Alex Bregman, phenomenal as well. Those top 4 are definitely my favorite options. I don't mind if you need to save some salary going with a guy like Garcia or Miranda, but those top 4 spend ups are definitely my 4 favorite guys.
All right. How about shortstop?
Shortstop today. I think we talked about really liking the Mets in tournaments, and so that's a very strong option to go with Francisco Lindor if you need somebody there. But Gunnar Henderson, I talked about really liking at third. I'd probably be more likely to play him at short than third. Really like him here as well. The other 2 guys that I'm trying to get to in large doses today is Carlos Correa. And then if you want to look at one of these later slates a little, he's not on the DraftKings or FanDuel early slate, but going to the main later today, I really like Willy Adames too. Or sorry, he is on this slate. Is Milwaukee on this slate? Yeah.
He's
Willy
on
Adames. I for some reason didn't see his name. Willy Adames, we're projecting for very low ownership going up against Hendricks. I love him for tournaments today.
Okay, Cards, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like that Adames call in tournaments as well. I mean, you can always play somebody like Bobby Witt too. Again, these are guys that are going against fairly at least decent pitchers, and so they won't be quite as chalky. But the Lindor call, obviously one of my favorites for tournaments. I like in GPPs going with a lower owned option here because the chalk is going to be, maybe Henderson, a little bit of Seager, and those guys are fine. But Shortstop's got enough options where I think you maybe in GPPs you look to a lower owned play today. In cash games, maybe you just eat the chalk with Seager or Correa.
Okay, wherever we are, take me there.
All right, I'll take you to the moon. Outfield. Again, I mentioned we had some cheaper. You're going to need a cheaper play in the outfield. So you got Duran is cheap. He's going to be the popular one today. Max Kepler hitting 5th for Minnesota. Robbie Grossman's in the Texas lineup. He's hitting 8th, but he'll be popular as a value guy. Oswaldo Cabrera for the Yankees. Taveras. You got guys that are going to be punt level plays. The most popular will by far be Duran, but you're going to need to play one of those guys given the context of the salary today. You're going to have to play a cheap outfielder. And then as you get to the top, interesting reverse splits, fairly strong reverse splits this year for Kyle Tucker. So don't mind playing him lefty on lefty. Adolis Garcia, Stanton, assuming the Yankees game is good. You got the Marlins guys against Wainwright. Sanchez is really cheap on DraftKings. Soler is always a power threat. So, and the Marlins not quite as popular as I would have expected. So, those are a few that I like.
Okay, very good. TJ, your thoughts on the outfield?
Yeah, it's weird because it feels like there's just a couple specific teams that I'm really targeting. And so Minnesota, I like their entire outfield. Buxton, Kepler, Castro, Michael Taylor, I want to play all of them. And then I look to another team like where was this other one that I'm getting to a lot? Miami. Super high upside guys that are just so cheap. Jorge Soler should be close to 6K. He's 4.6. Brian De La Cruz is sub 4K. Jesus Sanchez, one of my favorite plays on the slate. He's 2.9K. Just some, and even I think you can even play Jonathan Davis against Wainwright. So just some phenomenal salary saving options that I really like going to with them today. And then these Texas guys, I don't mind whatsoever either. I'd probably rather go with Ezekiel Duran or Adolis Garcia, but Duran's all the way up in the 6th spot today, so I love him for tournaments.
Very good. Okay, guys, let's do some home run picks and then take some QQs. We got about 15 minutes until lock. My kids have stopped melting down. My dog is not barking. Life is gradually improving here. TJ, you want to lead us off? You gave us a Spidey bomb already. It was Big Meat Pete. You got something else for me?
Yeah, I do. It's a holiday for all of you, so I'll be nice today. Keep hitting that like button. Get us up to 150. It helps us so much, truly. All you got to do is just click a little button, and it does wonders for us at the company. So please hit that like button. But I got 2 more home run calls for you. It's Gunnar Henderson plus 400 over at Caesars. Hopefully that New York game plays. And then it's the aforementioned Willy Adames is not going to run out of the park today as well.
Very good. All right, we got inside information here from one of our YouTube from Mr. Shadow Dog. You have Mr. Shadow Cat. What are the chances? He says, I ran into Joey Wendell at the Piggly Wiggly this morning picking up some buttermilk. He said he's going deep today. You like a little Joey Wendell? The Piggly Wiggly buttermilk narrative?
Joey Wendell hits a home run off of Adam Wainwright. I quit. I can't handle much more this year, but Joey Wendell going yard off of Wainwright would probably be one of the final straws.
That's going to happen.
It probably will. And of course he got pinch hit for late in last night's game. And then the replacement hit 2-run double to tie the game, which the Cardinals eventually lost to nobody's surprise. If I have to go with a high end play today, I will go with Adolis Garcia. He's my favorite kind of chalkier option to hit a home run. If you want something off the beaten path a little bit more, I kind of like a few of these power bats for the Rockies. Would have to dive into the odds a little bit more. Haven't yet because that game doesn't start till 4:00. But somebody like Ryan McMahon, Chris Bryant, CJ Crone against a hittable pitcher. Like these odds for again, I got to check and see who's got the
Ryan McMahon you can get for plus 480, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, there we go. We'll go with Ryan McMahon as the official pick since TJ gave me the odds there. But if you can get any of those,
Crone's 480 as well, and Bryant is 575. But let's go
with McMahon or Bryant for me.
Okay. All right, let's see. We had somebody say, hey, it looks good in New York right now. Marky Mark in the chat. And yeah, it's dry in Yankee Stadium now. In fact, it's been dry for a while. I don't know if what's up, TJ?
Cards, Nolan Jones is plus 750.
I'm gonna end up putting way too much money on the Rockies now, but yeah, I mean those guys. That's pretty good odds. I know the game's not at Coors, but Bielak is very hittable. Somebody's going yard for them today.
Okay.
Gonna end up being like the 9-hitter or something. Anyway.
Right. Someone, the one guy you didn't bet. It's dry in Yankee Stadium right now, and it's probably dry for an hour or so. But I don't know if they're going to try to warm up and play and beat more storms that are moving in. Okay, here we go. Just got the note. Orioles Yankees expected to start in 40 minutes. That's great. We just want them to start. If they start, they'll finish. It was just a question of, are they going to wait for this second batch to move in and then clear out? Because if so, they're not starting till like 4. So that's a really good sign. I am now more on board with Yankees bats than I was earlier. Boston still looks like they're going to start. I think they're going to get an early delay. But again, if they start, I think they're going to finish. So both of those games I like. And then again in Minnesota, I like that even more than the other ones. So right now, I am optimistic, essentially, with all of these games. Cautiously optimistic, but optimistic.
Heck yeah, it's good because I really like Baltimore, and they're in New York. So
Matt says, what about pitchers in New York? Wouldn't do it. Yeah, like I think that is an unnecessary risk. We already talked about like they're not great, but also there's a pretty decent likelihood of a earlier than 5th inning delay. Like a
and if that happens, this is an important point because that game has a 9-run total and the pitchers are okay but not great. Even if that game plays without a delay, the offenses could get there in this game, and there's probably not going to be as much ownership as usual because of the nature of the slate and the weather. And if there's a delay in like the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning that takes the starting pitchers out of the game, then you get into the bullpens in the 4th, 5th, 6th inning, which that's the weakest part of every major league pitching staff, right? Everyone's got a few decent arms at the back, and you got your starters, but you get into the 4th, 5th, 6th inning with the bullpen guys in there. Those guys generally aren't the best pitchers in the league. So, I don't mind stacks of either team. I think I prefer Baltimore if I'm choosing between them, but the offenses in that game are really interesting as tournament stacks. If ownership is low, which it is, and we project that eventually somehow they're going to get 9 innings in.
Okay, I like it. That's good thoughts. Guys, we've got about 9 minutes to dive into some QQs. Make sure to hit us with that thumbs up. By the way, did I mention that this show is sponsored by the one and only FanDuel? Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $20, get $200 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Make sure you're checking that out. Good stuff by our sponsor site, FanDuel. Mr. Shadow says, thanks for the show. Show's not over. Get your questions in, Mr. Shadow. You can ask literally anything you want in the whole wide world. We will give you the answer. Jake Sutton asks, who were your DKSPs for you, Cards?
I mean, the chalk is Luzardo and Maeda. If I had to pick one guy that I would maybe differentiate, it would, be going with somebody like Nola instead of Luzardo, or going double ace, or maybe throwing Senga in the GPP mix. But Luzardo and Maeda will by far be the popular pairing, I think.
For what it's worth, with both the, obviously it could play out differently, especially when you get to higher dollar stuff. But with both the bat projections and our plate IQ projections on DraftKings, we're projecting for Nola and Luzardo to have within 5% ownership of each other. And even Nola is actually projected for a little bit more ownership on our plate IQ projections than Luzardo is. So I think the best one you can get different with today is Zach Eflin. I'm playing 2 lineups. Even if I was playing 150, I would only be using Eflin, Nola, Luzardo, and Maeda. That'd be it. But right now we're projecting for over 40% ownership for Nola, Luzardo, and Maeda, and less than 20 for Eflin.
That's interesting because I've got the bat up, and the bat has Luzardo at 55 and Nola at 23. So big difference.
The bat must have updated since I last refreshed. So I'll give that a refresh now.
And mine might be older as well. Anyway,
Okay.
Those are
all right. A few more QQs. TJ, what are your thoughts on DK Cash at third from Grenade?
So yeah, right now it's gone up, I guess. Nola is up to 36 on the bats, and Lizardo is down to 41. Sorry, Roth, do you mind asking that one again?
Yeah. It was DK Cash at third, TJ.
Gunnar Henderson is probably my favorite guy. But since maybe if you want to go something a little bit less worrisome, because that does have a bit of risk for weather, I would go Alex Bregman.
Okay. Very good. What are your thoughts on Arizona for a DK tournament? TJ, I'll give that one to you.
I like Arizona a lot in a DK tournament.
All right. Very good. Scrolling up a wee bit. J3 says, Roth, you doing any grilling today? Hell yes. Got the burgers and the dogs ready. Yes, so we're grilling. What else do we do here? Ashvin Suresh says, Cards, Altuve, or Yelich? DK, no salary involved. No, it's a tiers question. So Altuve.
Oh, I was going to say Altuve and Yelich, you got no utility on DraftKings. How are you making that work? I would go Altuve.
Okay, very good. King of Smack says, question for Roth. I was looking at the Omega Weather app. New York Yankee Stadium looks to get thunderstorms continuing to about 4 or 5. Do you think it still goes? Because I don't. Yes, I do think they're going to see off and on storms until 4 or 5. But if they start the game and their plan is to start the game 35 minutes from now, and you get a thunderstorm, then they'll delay, and then they'll play a few innings. Maybe they'll get another thunderstorm. But I just
it's also only until 4 or 5, right? And then there's multiple games tonight starting at 5, 6, 7, and lots after 4 o'clock. So, I'm looking at my time. So even like 7 up till 9, 10, there's games today. And so I don't think they're going to worry about necessarily when it's going to start. Like I think they're just going to make it happen.
I'm of the same mindset. It's a big 4th of July thing. I just think they're going to make it happen. And the fact that they have a planned start time makes me pretty optimistic. DK Cash question, Cards. This one's for you. Buxton Kepler or Nimmo McCormick?
I would do the Twins combo.
Okay. J3 says, let's go. Happy 4th, everybody. Let's cash. Shout out to Cards, TJ, Dean, maybe Kirkwood. I guess no shout out to me. That's fine. I'm not offended. That's cool, J3. I'm not butthurt over that. DKGPP, is it okay, TJ, to go something like Belak and Maeda, or would get one expensive, or would you go like with one expensive guy?
I would personally go with one expensive guy, but if I was going to take a shot on a random cheapie, it would probably be Belak.
Okay, very good.
He's 8K. He's not even that cheap.
Yeah. Let's see. Mr. Richard says DK is at lock. I don't really know what that means.
Yeah, lock time. The lock time is 1:05 because that's when the Yankees game was supposed to start. FanDuel may have pushed theirs back with the delay there, but
okay. Well then, good. We have done the things that we came here to do. Then I suppose, huh? Shout out to my boy Emac. Emac in the chat who says we love the chief meteorologist. Thanks, Emac, man. We love you. Miss you, bud. Let's see. Okay, hey. With that, we've gotten all of the questions done. So let's get on out of here. Let's celebrate the 4th, ladies and gentlemen, for Cards, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. Have a fantastic 4th. We'll see you tomorrow. You have been crunched.